Hey everyone, welcome to another Kinetic Conversation. I like that. We just came up with that name the last time that we did this, but I love it. We're having Kinetic Conversations because we are Kinetic Communications, and I just wanted to add that in because we are, we're just having fun with this entire Kinetic playing around with the name Kennedy and all of that stuff, just in case you didn't know that. All right. Anyway, we're having another conversation today with an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing event planner, an amazing storyteller. And you know that everything that we do is through the lens of communication and storytelling. But before we jump into that conversation, I just wanted to share with you really quickly one of the things that we're doing in the very near future. Actually, next week, September 3rd is the next event. We're running an event called Win the Room for Leaders. That's Win the Room for Leaders. Win the Room with powerful presentations for leaders. If you're a leader, especially now that we're in the virtual space, if you are a leader who needs to communicate critical messages with confidence, if you're a leader that needs to present their ideas in front of the room and you're not quite sure of how you can do it or what you need to do in order to be able to really impact, inspire, and influence that room, that audience. We're going to have a 90-minute session on September 3rd that allows you to do that, that will equip you to do just that. So make sure that you head on over to the link that's on the bottom here, kineticommunications.com/win the room for leaders. Sign up. Seats are limited. We only have about 20 spaces that we can do because we want to make sure that it's valuable for everybody, and too many people doesn't allow us the close touch to everyone. So make sure that you sign up for that. The next session is September 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Save your spot, save your space, and we'll keep the light on for you. All right. So today, my conversation is with Melissa Jakes, and she is the CEO and founder of Rescue Event Planning, a Washington, D.C. based boutique event planning firm for influencers, organizations, and corporations. And during her career, she's been the right-hand event guru behind some of the most epic weddings, events, conferences, baby showers, birthday parties. Her clients actually call her or have given her the title of the Olivia Pope of events. All right. So now that most events are pivoting to a virtual format, her expertise in the online event planning space is a hot commodity. And today we want to talk to her a little bit about that switch, a little bit about how she's helping organizations to really tell their stories through events. So I just wanted to welcome her in. Melissa, how you doing today? Oh my goodness, I got you on mute. My fault. That's totally me. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent. I'm so glad to see you, connect with you, hear about all that you're doing, and especially now that we are in this time, this pandemic time, which it just feels so like we've been here forever. Huh? It's only been, about 5 months?
I think I counted last night. It was like 6.
Wow.
We're getting close to 6.
Yeah. We haven't been, it feels like, I know we've been going outside, but it just feels like everything that we took for granted before is just, my goodness, I'm not going to the store like I used to. I'm not sitting down in restaurants like I used to. I'm not going to church like I used to.
Right.
So all of this stuff is just so weird. How are you handling it?
Yeah, so I happened to be pregnant during the time when we started this pandemic and gave birth during a pandemic.
Wow.
So simple things of enjoying doctor visits or my husband coming along with seeing the baby as he was growing. He couldn't. I had to go by myself.
Wow.
And so it's been interesting. And then now, even postpartum, I just want to go to the store to kind of just get out the house, do something for me.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I took the kids just to see, like, can I handle 2 kids by myself?
Wow.
And went to Home Goods, and it's just different. One-way aisles and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like, wow, a simple little thing. I just want to go check out and see a candle. It's
Mhm.
a whole to do. Do you have your mask on? You have to go down this aisle one way, that way. So it's been very interesting.
Right. So, I mean, I guess the question that I wonder sometimes is every year we have flu season, right?
Hmm.
Every year we've got a little thing that people are contagious or whatever. Should we have been doing this stuff before? I mean, should we have had these one-way aisles in the stores and what?
Right. I think one, we should have been washing our hands a lot more. Clearly, people were not washing their hands a lot
Yeah.
more. We were not as clean as we should be.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping that once we get some type of vaccine,
Hmm.
we can kind of go to some normalcy, like if it was flu season.
Wow.
But if you were sick, you should stay home. I think that's one thing where people were not feeling well. They were trying to tough it out and go to work and do whatever they need to do. And I
Right.
think that's how this thing got really bad.
So let's talk about work for just a second. I mean, you
Mhm.
have a business that is based on people doing stuff in person or at least together,
Right.
congregating or coming together in a space for this thing that we call an event. Right? Right. And so your business has been impacted a little bit by that. But before we even go to that impact, tell us a little bit about the genesis of your event planning. How did you know that event planning was something that you liked, that you enjoyed? I mean, did you wake up one morning and say, "Oh my gosh, I think I want to plan a wedding today"? What was the genesis of this for you?
Right. It started back I would say maybe around 7 or 8 when it comes to
Wow.
Thanksgivings and setting the table. I was so excited to, can I do place cards? I didn't even know what place cards was at that time,
Right.
but I wanted to say this person will sit here. This is what the centerpieces are going to look like. And so whether it was with my mom's side of the family or my dad's side of the family, we were definitely, I was the one that was setting the table and the color scheme and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It then grew into in high school running graduation. So for my high school, which is a private school, is not your normal 1 day thing. It's a 3 day event, and we're
Right.
having lots of events with it. And so I planned the whole weekend from start to finish.
Wow.
And for some reason, my peers put me in that position.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, well, she's good at it. And then in college, I became SGA president and planning events, and in my sorority, planning events then. And even then, it still wasn't like I'm going to do a business out of that. So then I got married and I planned my wedding. And then that's when I started getting a request of, hey, can you help me plan this event? You're really good at it. And started planning, just with my friends out of the kindness of my heart. Sure, it got me excited. And so my husband was the one who said, hey, I think you should start a business.
Wow.
And at first it was just weddings because, when you think of events, for those who are like, oh, events, you automatically think weddings. And so it was his thoughts of like, just try it. My first thought was, if a bride has a color scheme that I don't like, I'm going to tell them it's ugly and I'm going to get fired.
Wow.
I'm gonna get fired. So I'm not sure how well this business is gonna work out. But that never happened. I learned how to really show or tell how this may not work out too well.
Mhm.
But even through that, I got my bachelor's, and I got my master's in social work, and my thought process was still, you go to school, get your education, you're gonna get a good job,
Yeah.
which is totally fine. But what I realized is I'm not happy, and
Mm.
that's important. And then what really changed was children. And when you're having kids, and I know how hard my mom and my dad worked in 12-hour shifts or couldn't come to plays or programs at school because they're working, I wanted to make sure I was present for my daughter and be able to do the school trips. I want to be the PTA president. I want to do all of that stuff and be involved.
Yeah.
And regular 9 to 5 work is not, it doesn't really help that well, right? And so starting the business, I did it as a side gig while I was still doing the 9 to 5 gig. And then I got an opportunity. I got an opportunity to start doing some consulting work with social work, would then
Mhm.
will relieve me from the from the 9 to 5 gig and give me more hours to grow the event planning business. And it was so scary.
Yeah.
Beyond scary because it's like I have a mortgage, Lord. I have a child. She's in daycare. You have responsibilities, and it's like, how can I make this big jump of the security blanket of the 9 to 5 world
Hmm.
to then jump? But I did, and I'm so glad I did, and I wouldn't turn back. And Rescue's now 5 years in.
Wow.
I've been fully into the business for I think almost 2 years now.
Hmm.
And I haven't been late on my mortgage. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that, and I love the story, and I think one of the things that as we think about our our abilities or the things that we enjoy doing, and people begin
Mhm,
to recognize that there's that fear that people box you in or
mhm,
stereotype you or typecast you is the word that I'm looking for, and
mhm.
they put you in this place, and maybe you don't want to be there. Do you ever struggle with that? How do you handle all these years people have been saying, yeah, Melissa, you should do that. Melissa, you should, let's ask Melissa to do that. Do you ever have those thoughts about, well, maybe what if I don't want to?
No, because I think every time somebody's asked me, it's like, yeah, I get excited to help them
Hmm.
in the event or the idea of like, I think I want to put on an event and I have no clue. And because see, my peers and my audience was telling me all along what I
Hmm.
should have been doing. It was me that was saying, no, I got this master's degree. I need to be using it.
Wow.
I need to be doing what I'm supposed to do, what society tells me to do.
Wow.
And one thing I was just telling my husband the other day, I think we put so much emphasis on get your education, go to college, do that, but we forget about the trades
Hmm.
and how we can save our young people some money. That if this is really what you love to do, and you can make a lot of money being a plumber, you can
Hmm.
make a lot of money being a carpenter. You don't have to have the degree and all of that, degrees, PhDs, and that's all great for those who do. That's your track, that's you. But I think if I had the opportunity to go back, I would have
Hmm.
done something different. Definitely business school. I
Yeah.
definitely would have done business school and understanding and loving the in and outs of how a business works, and then how the logistics of the business can then roll over and help an entrepreneur
Yeah.
do what they love to do.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit now about what's happening here. So you've got this business that really depends on events. And we
Mhm.
think of events typically as these gatherings of people in person at a hotel, in a ballroom, or in an auditorium somewhere, or even in a conference room
Right.
at an organization. And here comes this pandemic, and all of that goes.
Yeah. I
What are
mean,
you thinking when all of that leaves?
I was like, this is going to be interesting. And at first, this has never happened before, right?
Hmm.
So at first, everyone's like, yeah, okay, we'll be down for like 2 weeks and we're back at it.
Hmm.
When I realized we're going into a month and we had to push events back for my clients, because in March, I was jam packed for March and April and May. We had
Wow.
things on the books. So when we had to start pushing people's events back, and they were asking me like, should I do it for just a month? Should we do it for 6 months, a year? That's when it was like, this is interesting,
Yeah.
to the point where I had nothing on the books. Everything got pushed back, canceled, or just pushed back for another year.
Hmm.
And so it was good quiet time, but it was also like, how are you
No
going to
money
survive
time.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So now you've made some transitions, and so some of that is in the virtual event planning space, because now organizations they've recognized, my goodness, we thought we were going to be back in like 2 weeks. We thought we were going to be back in a month, and this thing isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So now we've transitioned all this stuff to virtual. So what are some of the things that you are sharing with organizations now? Because I mean, it's a little bit more than just, hey, let's hop on Zoom and make it go.
Right, absolutely. And I love Zoom, but Zoom is not always the platform for you for your events.
Hmm.
So what I first realized is, one, I learned about different platforms. I had to educate myself. Though I knew about Zoom, I knew about a couple of others. StreamYard, Webinar Jam,
Yeah.
but I really wanted to make sure I really understand the in and outs and invest into those things. And so then I can explain to organizations or entrepreneurs who had events, we can actually save a little bit more money because we can do this virtual. And so a lot of people were afraid of doing paid events.
Right.
And I understood that because it was a pandemic. So their thought process was, I don't want to charge people if people are losing their jobs. Like, this is a hard time.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of free events. But now we're like, hey, our events that we had scheduled, our galas, our fundraiser, we need to do something now. So I explained to clients how we can tell your story or tell your journey or your event through a virtual experience.
Wow.
So for nonprofits who fundraising is big for them, that's their main income. And so we're helping nonprofits take galas or concerts, or we have like a sip and paint type of feel, or candle making, fundraising ideas that's entertaining for folks who don't want to go out just yet and kind of do those smaller events. They can do them virtually.
Right.
And so giving them different opportunities of how to use their brand through virtual events. And it doesn't only have to be virtual. There are times where you're able to mail like swag bags or candle making kits to your guests, a part of the registration, and then you're all doing it together. So it's a different level experience. You have that in-person tangible, but you're still having it virtual.
Right. So you mentioned organizations telling their stories. I mean, tell us a little bit about that conversation. Do organizations recognize that they need to tell a story, or what are you sharing with them about how to tell their story through events?
Yeah, they don't recognize it. So when I tell them, tell me about your event. Tell me about what was the whole purpose of it. So for one client, it was about sexual assault. And they're like, well, we usually do this in person. It is a sensitive topic, but tell me about, why did you even start? And so listening to the CEO and why she started the nonprofit, it definitely gave me ideas on how we can plug this into an event, or how to even advertise, or who her target audience could be on virtual for her event. And then how to make that event feel more homely for that type of audience. You need to have something that's more comforting. And so teaching that to my clients, it really helps them tell their story through their event. So at the end of the event, your audience, and especially for her audience, it was mind blowing. People who were assaulted, who have not seek therapy, started seeking therapy because of the event. And so it's important for organizations to know, yes, you can't have it in person or what you typically would have, even small talks. Another nonprofit I work with, they can have small talks about reform and civil rights and justice and what Martin Luther King was about. Having those small talks definitely still tells your story about your organization, because you're, in a sense, wrapping it around with the event. And it's just now virtual, where you're able to have speakers who you probably couldn't afford to fly out. Now they can just get on a screen, and you can have more reach with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about events, and maybe we're a smaller organization that doesn't have in-person events typically, or maybe we don't even have events. Maybe we just we go through the year, and every once in a while we might have a Christmas party, or we have an all hands meeting. So when you're talking about going virtual, can that same concept that you're talking about, can that apply to maybe just regular meetings? Do we have to rethink meetings as well? Tell me a little bit about how you're operating in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people are zoomed out. Clearly, Zoom had a whole shutdown either yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, Monday when school started.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah. Welcome. And in 5 hours, you're shut down, right? So I'm definitely rethinking. And again, I love, for Zoom meetings, it works for some things, but rethinking how meetings are, because you're going to be doing meetings for a long period of time until this thing kind of ends.
Right.
And so throwing in some mixers in there. Maybe it is we're meeting in a different space, a different platform to change it up. But definitely for those who don't do events, this is the time to do events.
Right.
If you haven't done events before as an organization to reach your audience, this is definitely the time to try.
Right.
Like that's the whole beauty of this pandemic, if you want to say that,
Right.
is that you're able to test and trial things on audience because there's no cost. That cost is not there. You do an event, it's free, people come, you do a little survey, figure out what went well, what didn't go well. And then for your employees, definitely during like some type of mixer, some type of fun event where you're able to even have a photo booth virtually now, have vendors that do photo booths virtually,
Wow.
have vendors who mail out the cookies or the cupcakes to your employees, and you guys have the opening together and just talk.
Right.
And so there's definitely an opportunity here especially for some small businesses, to really get your name and your brand and your story out, to really do some virtual events.
Yeah. So for the business owners that might say, well, that sounds well and good, but it also sounds extra. It sounds like a lot of trouble to put that stuff together. How's it going to affect my bottom line, or really why should I be considering spicing up my regular meetings in this time? How do you respond to clients or businesses that may say that to you?
Yeah, change is good. Clearly, we had to pivot. So, it might be extra, but I love being extra because that what's make you stand out. If you want to be ordinary, then okay. But I know most people don't want to be ordinary. They want to stand out of the crowd.
Right.
And so your bottom line, you do have to invest. You're investing in a different way. You would have done something in the meeting. You would probably order food for the staff. You can still do that. There's DoorDash, there's Uber Eats. You can order people individual meals or a family meal, and still have your meeting in a different way. So it definitely seems like, well, let's just get on the meeting, get the work done. But you have to remember the mental health of your folks in that meeting. Constantly going to Zoom meetings after, one after another. They have kids. They now have to worry about school.
Yeah.
Appreciation and doing something a little bit extra for your folks definitely goes a long way.
Yeah.
I've done that for, my staff that I can't even see anymore. So if people who help me, I've sent them little gifts here and there. I'm just thinking about you.
Yeah.
Or hey, let's get together and do a quick little happy hour with our Martinellis. And so,
Yeah.
so, or your wine, however. So it's definitely good to invest in your people, because this is the time where you should be really appreciative of people in people's roles, because you would really understand, where people's best niches are and how somebody's really valuable to you being virtual.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about, you've made this pivot from in-person to virtual. Are there surprises that you've dealt with along the way as you've made this pivot? Or are there things that you are seeing or discovering now that you're virtual a bit, that you're saying, you know what, when we get back to in-person, I'm definitely going to take this practice or implement this?
Yeah, the secret is I actually feel like I love virtual events better than in person.
Wow.
I'm really surprising myself on that.
Yeah.
Learning small little video editing for like promo videos, or intro and outros for clients. I'm loving that I actually like to do that. One thing I definitely have learned way better is social media marketing for my clients, for their events, and what works. Getting people, if you want to call selling sold out tickets, even though there's not many seats, but let's say they have a cap. They only want 20 people. Like for
Right.
your event, you only want 20 people in your event. So we've gotten to the point where we've learned how to help our clients sell out.
Wow.
And have their cap that they wanted to. And also learning about their brand, and understanding how this could probably help when we do go back live for your in-person events, how to make sure that you can get your sellout seats there as well.
What are you recommending to clients? I mean, you talked about fatigue just now, Zoom fatigue and online fatigue. Is there I would say, a magic number? Is there some time that you're suggesting to people, hey, you know what? as you think about your event, think about this as your sweet spot with regard to time?
Yeah, depending on their event, if they're doing like a summit or a conference,
Hmm.
I would not go past 3 hours. I've
Hmm.
had a couple of clients to do four, and their numbers didn't drop.
Hmm.
It was really interesting because the content was really good. That's the difference too. You can't just have a whole bunch of speakers come on and speak. You need to have something to break it up.
Right.
And so because the content and the interactions in between, whether it was some people have done like dance break, they even had yoga instructors come on. Hey, let's do some deep breathing, some moves, learning different things. The 4 hours can make it. I
Hmm.
definitely wouldn't go past 4 hours. That's just way too much time on screen.
Right.
But if you're doing something like a quick webinar or workshop, I would say no more than 90 minutes.
Hmm.
60 to 90 minutes is a good sweet spot for that.
Okay. So what about, I mean, we're talking about events, but what about organizations who their thing is not really big events, but they have a lot of meetings? What are your
Mhm.
recommendations around that?
Yeah, no more than 60 minutes.
Okay.
Beating out.
Yeah.
Get to the point.
Yeah.
Have your agendas ready. I'm very precise and concise. You don't have to have all that fluff and back and forth for, especially for meetings, because you're
Mhm.
there to plan, strategize, and move on. So you don't want to burn your people out. So
Yeah.
definitely, between 30 and 60 minutes.
So I know that you don't, I'm not going to ask you to share a specific document right now, but do you have templates or things that you share with organizations about, hey, these, as you consider your virtual event, as you consider your virtual meetings, here are some things that you will go through, you know, in order to make
Yeah.
it the most successful meeting?
Yep. Yeah. We
Yeah.
have a checklist. We have a virtual e-planning checklist,
Hmm.
or through your meetings, simple things, especially if you're doing an event, um, not even if you're doing an event, lighting is everything. So make sure your lighting is well, you have a good mic,
Yeah.
where to do it in your space. Something that's economical, because we know, you're not sitting here trying to do a whole production, but we do have some checklists just to help people and to guide them on how to do their virtual events when they're on screen.
Yeah. But we are trying to do these virtual productions, though. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, yeah, true. The DNC definitely did it, and he
Yeah.
was from home. I was so impressed by that.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Hmm.
listen, I'm going to pop this on the screen really quickly. And tell us a little bit about it. You rescueeventplanning.com/, virtual event planning. This is a magnet, or this is a gift from Melissa. Share with us what this is.
Yes, so definitely you guys can head over there. It is a complimentary consultation. If either of you have an idea of doing a virtual event, a conference, a meeting, a summit, and you're not quite sure, or you had it planned for the books closer to the end of 2020, and
Hmm.
you're realizing it's not going to happen, you need to go virtual. So we're definitely here to help you guys with that. My biggest thing is I'm not here to break anybody's pockets. I want to make sure you guys are having great produced events that has great content and that can help your community. So we're offering complimentary 15-minute complimentary sessions with you to just brainstorm and strategize what you guys have, hearing your story of your organization or your business, to then say this is what you can do with it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, Melissa, it's been amazing to just kind of chat with you and have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Organizations have not just time for meetings, but they have time for influencing, for engaging, for
Mhm.
connecting with each other and with their customers. So, if you're an organization that needs to do that, if you're an organization that knows that you struggle with connecting, with engaging, with influencing your customers and even internally, and you know that you need to have a virtual event or meeting, I want to have you contact Melissa at rescueeventplanning.com so that she can work with you to help you have an even more smooth, innovative event. All right. So, Melissa, I really appreciate that. For those of you who are still on right now, just want to remind you about our event, Win the Room for Leaders. The next event is happening on September 3rd. So, I want you to get registered for that. That's kineticcommunications.com. It's right in the ticker below, kineticcommunications.com/ Win the Room for Leaders. If you want to be able to present your ideas or communicate your ideas with confidence, if you want to be able to present your ideas powerfully so that you can really influence the people that are in that room, come on and register for the Win the Room for Leaders session. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you. I think we're doing another Kinetic Conversation next week, Wednesday. I don't remember the specific time or the guest, so I've got to do my homework. Yes. All right. But it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. We'll see you at the next Kinetic Conversation. Bye-bye.